Good afternoon. I'm Colleen Callahan. I'm Deputy Director of the Luskin Center for Innovation, based at the University of California, Los Angeles. More importantly, you probably all know me as the very last panelist and the very last panel of the 3-day conference. So thank you so much for holding in there and sticking with us. So I also want to thank the conference organizers, including EPA and especially Charles Lee for organizing this session. All right, so I'm going to go through my slides pretty quickly in respect of your timeline. Takeaway message, if you get nothing else out, this is a major opportunity to advance climate action, and it also holds some important lessons for other states that might be interested in doing the same. We understand the world is watching what California is doing with its climate policy experiment. It's landmark, unprecedented in many ways. So let me give you a couple, kind of break down the steps a little bit further, building upon what my fellow panelists have said. So how does this money get to EJ communities? Well, it starts with the polluter paying. The polluter buys carbon credits through an auction system. The auction revenues, they go into the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And from there, these state legislature and the governor appropriates through the annual budget process money to different state agencies. It's a lot of state agencies actually that are involved in this. So it's a fairly complex implementation process because these state agencies are now updating their program guidelines, sometimes even creating new programs in a couple cases. And they're doing so to incorporate the requirements under SB 535 and some other important laws. And then the money goes through those state agencies to our EJ communities through programs that do what Mary Rose talked about. So these EJ priorities, transit and low-income affordable housing, connected with active transportation routes. Energy efficiency in low-income homes to help households pay for it and lower their energy bills. Greening our communities, creating more livable communities. This is pretty, I'll pretty much review. Just want to emphasize though that these 10% and 25% carve-outs, it's a floor, it's not a ceiling, so it's a minimum of 10% and 25%. And there's another complementary law that mandates that not only does the money go to reduce GHG emissions, as we know, but it explicitly says we should, to the extent feasible, maximize environmental, economic, and public health benefits. So I'm going to talk about these co-benefits more. Really quickly, kind of what does this mean in terms of numbers, budget numbers? Significant source of revenue, so $830 million in this fiscal year, and this is an evolving story. This is the first year of implementation. This is the first budget that we have. Money going into those 3 main buckets that I referred to earlier: sustainable communities and clean transportation, energy efficiency and renewables, and community greening natural resources. That's what is going just in this year alone, specifically to EJ communities, disadvantaged communities. So these are not insignificant amounts going to communities that need the resources the most. This might be the largest source of revenue for EJ communities in a long time. But this is only the beginning. So in the past 2.5 years, the auction revenues have generated almost $1 billion, not quite $1 billion. Just in this one last auction alone, and there's quarterly auctions, we've produced $1 billion. So the amount generated is really, really increasing. And that is why our budgets can also increase. So the governor has proposed $1 billion in this budget, but because there's 3 more auctions, that is very likely to increase. We might generate, $2.3 billion, or perhaps even more this year alone. So what should the investments accomplish? Talked about co-benefits, environmental co-benefits. So reducing toxic pollution, criteria pollutants in EJ communities, reducing water pollution, economic benefits, creating jobs, quality jobs, as well as the quantity should be measured, supporting local businesses, public health benefits, of course, related to those environmental benefits, reducing pollution, improving the safety of our neighborhoods, making it safer to walk and to bike and to take transit. Lots of other kind of categories of these co-benefits. Of course, we don't want to produce unintended negative consequences, and also obviously reducing GHGs. So Charles mentioned a convening that UCLA held last year with stakeholders to support the equitable implementation of SB 535 and the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. Out of that came a report that I meant to show, bring up with me, but I have copies of that report if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the opportunities and getting some recommendations from EJ leaders and other leaders on how we can implement this law in a way that will ensure we really are maximizing the benefits for communities that need it the most. And thinking, it gets a little, maybe wonky, but for those who are familiar with evaluation, and maybe even I know some of you were at a conference that UCLA held several years ago to create a framework for evaluating environmental justice policies and programs that EPA and others in this room were involved in. And so you might know then the logic model approach, where we think about starting backwards. What do we want to accomplish? What impact do we want to have? And then thinking about how do we get there? What are the data that we need to collect to make sure that we're having that impact? What are the indicators that are important? All the way to what are our goals and our principles that really drive this process? Pulling from those important laws like SB 535 to really then set the stage for what we want to measure, what we want to accomplish. And so it's really about making an impact and proving that we're having an impact, so that we can defend against any threats to really important initiatives and laws like SB 535. And so I just want to quickly end with 3 examples of the impact of the programs that are going to be receiving money from the GGRF, what that impact is on real families. Here's an example of a solar program, a low-income solar program that is not only saving low-income households a lot of money, but also creating jobs, reducing GHGs, energy efficiency also for low-income families that are creating significant amounts of good-paying career ladder jobs, and also helping households to save money on their energy bills that they can use for other important things. And making our streets, our communities more livable, and involving the youth in that, and local businesses. And with that, I want to thank you.